Hey, I'm Jay, and you're listening to the More Than podcast. I'm a former Miss Arizona USA, professional model, confidence coach, and red carpet host. Don't let those titles fool you, though. I'm a 30-year-old, overly curious woman who loves to connect with others over the good, the bad, and the hilarious parts of our stories. From the outside looking in, my 20s looked really glamorous, but in reality, I struggled deeply with my confidence, self-worth, and mental health. I went on a deep healing journey to figure out how to live a life that felt as fulfilling as it looked, and now I help you do that too. I'm not afraid to go deep, and our guests aren't either. We talk all about mindset, mental health, confidence, relationships, beauty, boundaries, business, fashion, while giving you tangible tools for your own growth. This is one of those girl chats that leave you feeling inspired and empower you to stop settling and create a life you love. You're so much more than whatever's holding you back, and I'm so glad you're here. Welcome to the More Than podcast. I'm so excited to have you on and for everybody to get to know you.
Yay.
You are known as a business savage, which is a pretty badass name, I have to say. And you've scaled multiple businesses to 6 and 7 figures. Mm-hmm. That's the goal of every single business owner, entrepreneur. But in my 4 years of growing More Than, I've learned that there's no such thing as an overnight success and everyone's got to start somewhere. So I'm excited to dive into the evolution of not just your business development, but your personal development. So take me back to before you had the first idea for your very first business. Were you always entrepreneurial, mindset driven, or did you try something else, fail at that, and decide I need to pivot and do my own thing?
Really great question. I actually have never been asked that question, so I love that. Yeah, she comes with the juicy ones ready to go right from the beginning.
Gotta spill the tea. Come on.
I grew up with a father who owned a business, so an entrepreneur is a dad. My uncle is an entrepreneur and owned, correct me if I'm wrong, over 70 businesses to date, most of which had gone belly up. And I just from a very young age learned that was kind of the way. I was 7 years old when my dad told, I was a competitive hockey player my whole life. And my dad was like, if you want a new pair of hockey skates every year, because your feet are growing so fast, you're going to have to start buying your own skates. And so I would get out an edger and I would start edging lawns all around the neighborhood, and it was $5 a head so that I could make some money. And so I just learned hustle from a super young age. And I remember there was this pivotal moment for me where I was driving with my dad home from a hockey practice, and there was some fancy car beside me. I don't remember exactly what it was. And I was like, Dad, if I'm a doctor, will I be able to afford that car? And he's like, maybe for a surgeon or some kind of fancy doctor, maybe. And I was like, well, what if I marry a lawyer and I'm a doctor? Then could we afford that car? And he's like, yeah, probably, but maybe, it depends on how successful you are. And I was like, what if I own my own business? And he's like, the way that I said it, I don't know how old I was, I'm going to say 12. I lit up. And it was from probably that pivotal moment where I was like, I don't know how. I have no idea what this looks like. I have no idea how I'm going to do it. It's just an unwavering faith that it's going to happen. And so I ended up going to school for business. I went to school for sport business management, and I ended up working in professional sport for a long time for the Toronto Maple Leafs and the Toronto Raptors and the Global Partnerships Department.
No way.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
Interesting story, which we can dive into if you would like.
Yes, absolutely.
And then one day it was like, no. I was staring at the GO train. I had a heater underneath my desk because I was freezing with a blanket on my lap, stuck at my desk from 9 to 5 in a $42,000 a year salary. And I was miserable. I was one of 5 women that graduated from a class of 80 men, all of us clawing for this position that I landed. And you would think I'd be so happy. Free Leaf tickets, I'm getting to work with the players. It was everybody's dream job in my industry. And I was miserable. And so,
Wow.
And so it was one day I just kind of woke up and I said, I don't know what this looks like. I have no idea, but I've got a bit of money saved. And so I'm going to try this. I'm going to try this journey. And I got started in the beauty industry.
Oh my gosh. Okay, there's a lot to unpack. Just right
that
there.
Was the Coles notes.
That is amazing.
Yeah.
Well, one thing that you said that really resonated with me too is the work ethic that was instilled in you by your dad by saying, if you want something, you're going to have to work for it, where I was the exact same way growing up. And I resented it at the time because I'm like, none of my other friends have to work this hard for everything that they have, and they don't have to save up their own money. And now looking back on that, I'm like, that is a very entrepreneurial mindset thing that parents instill in their kids at a young age. And I've met so many successful people like yourself that have that similar story. So I think that's a testament to parenting, but also that you gotta have that mindset in every single thing you do throughout your life. It doesn't end at any point. You constantly have to hustle to get what you want. Nobody's ever gonna give anything to you. But you said that you were a hockey player. Like you were on the rink with all the dudes.
Is this where we cut the video and there's just insert a video of me?
Yes, please. Can we insert a video, please? I have to see this. I can't stand on ice. So the fact that you can
teach you.
Please teach you.
You can teach me how to model. I'll teach you how to
deal, trade.
That sounds like a fair trade.
I love it.
3 years old. 3 years old. My dad put me on the ice. So we built a big backyard rink every single year. And my dad wanted me to be a professional hockey player. He didn't make it. He was like, you're the son I've never had, even though I have a younger brother.
Oh my gosh.
I know. It was just, I was the athlete. I was the athlete in the family. He could tell. And I was really driven. And it's funny because when you think of an entrepreneurial mindset, as you just shared, it relates so much back to sports. And I would be 3 years old, 4 years old. There was no league at that age. And the earliest we could play was 7-year-olds. And I said, I want to do it. And so my dad registered me and I was playing with 7-year-olds when I was 4. Technically, I just turned 4. And I was skating down the ice and the play would go the other way. And I'm like stepping, because I'm 4 years old, on the ice. And my dad would have to come out and pick me up and take me off the ice. Cass, you sure you not want to wait a few years? And I was like, nope, I can do it. Nope, I can do it. By the end of the season, I was skating with them.
Wow.
And so I just like, from a really young age, I have had to work hard for everything my entire life. Didn't get good grades. I was the one that was studying until 2:00 in the morning just to get 80%, just to get into the college I wanted. And so I feel like I learned a lot of that throughout sports. And then I carried on. I played competitive hockey my whole life, 6 days a week. I was on the ice. I played competitive hockey and high school hockey at the same time, and competitive volleyball. For a large portion of my life, it was just sports. And so, you know, you can get into the stories of why I am the way that I am. I had a very secluded group of friends. A lot of them were men. And it was like the way that I thought was different than a lot of people that I was surrounded by. I didn't drink. I didn't party. I've never done drugs still. I still don't even know what they are. Like, I just wasn't exposed to the same things that I feel like a lot of people around me were. And I was very vision and tunnel focused on the things that I wanted. And I played with the boys and what is she doing on the ice? And I played as far as I could until I was about 18. And then it was like, okay, this isn't going to be a career anymore. It's a passion and I love it. But also, like, what am I doing with my life?
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
Where's the money coming in from, you know?
Yeah.
So,
and I would assume that if you're playing organized sports through school, you have to do well in school in order to be able to play sports, right? Yeah. So you said that school, if it didn't come natural to you, it did not come natural to me in any way. One, my ADHD, I could not focus on anything, but it also was just really hard for me. I was bad at traditional learning in that environment.
Same.
And because of that, I had this idea that like, oh, I'm not smart, or like, I'm not going to be successful, quote unquote, in the way that I'm seeing my peers because I can't understand things the way that other people can understand things. I didn't have sports. And so I was honestly not really caring about school because I was like, oh, I'll just never go to college. But if you have sports as part of it, you really had to push yourself to be able to excel in that area.
Yeah.
When you were in school, were you thinking like, okay, if I do a traditional job, this is what is necessary? Or were you thinking at that time too, like, no, I'm going to be an entrepreneur?
It was an unwavering knowing that this wasn't meant for me. Like, this wasn't right. And I think now, I mean, you're very involved in the personal development space. So I'm sure you probably agree, at least in some element of this. But now, like, when I have children, I will homeschool them. And I don't believe in the way that things are supposed to be done. You're supposed to you're told you should go to university, or you should do this. You should be married by this age. You should have kids by this age. All of these should goals that people put on us. And like, school to me is one of those. And you think about the things that they're doing now with people being microwave ovens in the school, and like all the things that people are identifying with and the things that are happening. It's very different now than it was when we grew up. And I think when I grew up, I knew that I was destined for something different. I wasn't destined to be confided to this box. And like, I got into university because I asked my professor if he could bump my grade by 1% so I could have the average to get into the school I wanted, because I wanted to go there to play hockey.
Like, that was the driving force.
What? What?
Wow.
And
That's
it's like,
wild.
if you look back, English, like something creative. We're all creative. We're all creative. I don't care who's listening to this right now. Every single one of you is creative. We're just told so many things to fit into these boxes. And if we don't perfectly, we think that we're not creative. And we think we have to be something. But really, you just have to find out what your purpose is and what your, vision is. And for me, it wasn't going to college or university and like being the person in the front row is getting 90%. It was like, I'm going to create something and it's going to be powerful. And I don't even know what it's going to be yet, but it's not going to fit in this box.
So beautifully and well said. And I do think the majority of kids, that's not really fostered through our school systems up until you're 18 years old, that if you are creative like that, you don't really have an outlet unless your parents are the ones that are instilling that. And you also touched on these timelines and the fact that you should be doing everything by a certain time.
Yeah.
So you got the dream job. You are working in the industry that you wanted to be working in. You achieved the thing that you thought would make you happy and you were unhappy. Take me through the process of realizing this is not what I actually thought it was going to be and removing yourself from that, because that'd be hard to do when your peers are vying for your position that you got and you don't love it.
Yeah.
That had to be a whole mindset journey for you.
Yeah, totally. And like taking me back to that version of Cassandra, I didn't even know what mindset was. Like the personal development journey from then until now, I'm 34 now. I was, 18, 19, 20 back then.
Yeah, a different person.
Totally. I didn't even know what any of this was. I have walked through most of my life with a very dominant masculine energy, not knowing anything about my femininity or what that side of me looks like or my creativity. And so now it's so easy and so clear for me to answer that question. But at the time, all I can tell you is it was a knowing. It was a knowing that like, why do you guys like this? Why are you like lit up about this? Why are you excited for the 9 a.m. boardroom meeting? Like that doesn't excite me. And I was scared to tell my dad, terrified to tell my dad because of the sports. And he was so excited when I landed that job, and he was a Wendell Clark fan, and I got him the tickets and the Wendell Clark and the suite. And it was like, oh my God, my daughter works here and this is so amazing. But when I told him, I want to start my own business, he just said, he took a pause. He came back to 12-year-old me and he was like, what do you need from me?
Wow.
What do you need from me?
That's a supportive
My mom was
parent.
terrified. We're going to have to support her for a while, or how are we going to figure this out? But yeah, I think it was just this unwavering, I keep coming back to that knowing. And now going through the journey that I've gone through in personal development and the work that we've done, I can tune into that like this. It's either a full F yes or it's a full F no for me almost instantly with anything. And so if I can go back to that, my body was always telling me stomach aches on the train, puking when I'd get home, like just all of it, right? All of the signs, not feeling confident in anything that I was doing. I'd be timid to raise my hand in the boardroom with an idea. But that same girl now gets to like scream her ideas, and then she's the one who gets to be on the other side being like, that's a great idea. Let's execute on that. Yeah, that's great. Let's do that. And let's make that $1 million business. Right?
I love
nobody else to like suppress you or say, we don't like that idea.
And you had to have some sense of confidence to be able to go with that knowing, because I do think a lot of people, they have that knowing or that intuition or that gut feeling, but the fear is so overwhelming and the confidence isn't developed enough that they stay stagnant. And then pretty soon they don't remember what it was like to be in touch with their knowing or with their intuition. Take me to the point where you started personal development. You started understanding what that knowing or that intuition really was, and how you got to a place where you could identify it then, but how you can now tap into it, because that's something a lot of people can't do.
Totally. And it's been a wild journey, like a wild journey, right? That could be like 7 episodes all on its own, I'm sure, for most people that have gone through a big journey. I was in a 10-year relationship from 19 to 29. And now being in a conscious relationship and looking back at that relationship, it was like, what the heck were you doing? What were you doing? Could you imagine being married to that man and being in that relationship for the rest of your life? No connection, no communication, no passion. Like, it was like we were just homies that lived together. I don't even think half the time we liked each other. And so that relationship ended. And when it ended, there was this sense of everyone's like, are you okay? You know, all this stuff. And I'm like, I'm good. Like, I'm so good. Everything is going to be way better now. My business, my beauty salon, skyrocketed because I went all in on it. I didn't have this weight. I didn't have this energy. I didn't have a voice telling me I couldn't do things. It was just Cassandra and her own thoughts. And so that's where like I started to build a lot of my confidence because I didn't have anybody else around me being like, you can't do this. It was just my internal voice being like, you're going to do this. You're going to do this. It's scary. Feel the fear, do it anyways, but let's go. Right. And so I grew that business, and we can go back and touch on that story, but I grew that business to past a 7-figure business. Phenomenal. Great. COVID happened. The doors are shut. The beauty salon's closed for 9 months. Cannot go in, can't do services. Half the staff is at home doing services in their home with my clientele, and I can't do anything about it. The industry changed completely. And I sat there for about a week. For about a week, I drank way too much wine, stopped working out because gyms were closed, which is a go-to for me and for my confidence. And it was about a week, and I looked at everyone around me, friends, and just the way that everyone was crumbling. And I said, not me. I'm not going to crumble. I'm going to figure this out. That door has physically, by God, been closed in. So I'm going to figure out how to open up a new one. I don't even know what that looks like. Started listening to podcasts religiously. I was doing my makeup every morning, wasn't going anywhere, just getting myself ready. And I listened to a podcast, and I stumbled upon the mindset mentor, Rob Dial. He was my first mentor. He said, if you want to be a coach, you know, I don't even remember what his offer was. I just was so called, and it was that voice. I was like, okay. And so long story short, $10,000, didn't even have it, invested it into his program. And I said, if I'm going to be in this program, I'm going to make the most out of it. Within 6 months, I'd made it a $500,000 business. With his mentorship, he's phenomenal. With his mentorship and the competitive nature of being in a group, I was like, I got to be the best. I got to, you know, the competitive spirit
sports
coming
mentality.
Yeah. And then it clicked, and I dove really deep into personal development. He taught us business, which I already knew, but it was the mindset, which is why my motto with the Business Savage is a healthy business begins with a healthy mind. I cannot teach you how to grow your business. I'm a firm believer. I cannot teach you how to grow your business if we don't get your mind right first. Because if you don't believe you're worthy of all of it, you're going to self-sabotage and keep yourself in the exact same habits and the exact same loop that everything I teach you, you're not going to implement anyways. And so it was diving into a lot of philosophy books. I kind of started geeking out on philosophy, and I just read a lot of books during COVID, figured out what these programs were going to look like, started seeing common behaviors in my clients and realizing like these common imposter syndrome, fear, all these things that were coming up. It was very common, all of the patterns that were coming up. And so then I started geeking out on, well, how do I help them through that? And what's an exercise that I can do to help them through that? And in that process, you're helping yourself, right? And so mentorship, you're always looking for somebody 5 steps ahead of you. I started getting into some plant medicine and started getting into kind of that space and you know, really woo-woo stuff. And I met inner little Cassandra. I met the point in which she lost herself. I met this beautiful dancer that actually lives inside of me that I didn't know, because the 3D world Cassandra is a hockey player. And it was this entire new expression and confidence that was born out of me through enough work. And I think the biggest thing, if I want to bring it to a 3D perspective, is the people around me, right? Making sure that I was removing anyone who doubted me. If I was like, I want to do this. If there was like you can't do that, I didn't want them around me. I wanted someone that was like, that's kind of crazy, but what do you need from me? Let's do it. And so removing a lot of those people around me and diving all in to this journey of really discovering who I was. Why am I the way that I am? Why do I have these feelings? Balancing that masculine and that feminine, because I was walking through life with this armor, and there was this feminine essence that wanted to come out and flourish. And how did I honor her, but also still have the structure and the hustle that needs to be there, but also rest and restore, because I need that in order to have the strength to hustle. And so it's been, it's the last 3-4 years of my life. If you went back and met me when I was 29, 30 and I left that relationship, you wouldn't even recognize me. I lost 70 pounds.
Oh my goodness.
Mm-hmm. You wouldn't even recognize the version of Cassandra that I was. And it's been personal development and changing the people around me. And every time I feel that, it's uncomfortable, it's scary, that is my sign from God to be like, do it.
Lean in.
Like, lean in. That right there just tells you that 1% of people won't do that. 99% of people are going to stay over here on the side of comfort. And if you want a life of success, quote unquote, whatever that means for me, it's to lean into that.
Was there a defining moment that made you leave that relationship? 10 years is a long time to invest in somebody.
Yeah, I found pink socks in my bed that weren't mine.
Yeah, that would do it. That'll do it. But it's impressive. And it goes back to the confidence, even though you were in a totally different place, that there's so many people going back to timelines that it's like, well, I've already invested this long. I'm in my 20s. Maybe I should just stick it out and be with this person. And you making the decision like, no, I'm leaving that and I deserve more, and fully investing in yourself in the process is the best thing that you can do and the best takeaway that you can have, but something that a lot of people don't do because they're fearful.
Yeah. It's sad.
It is sad.
It's really sad. I know you know some. I could write a book full of the names of the people that I know that are in a job that they hate, a body that they don't like, a relationship that they don't like. The list goes on, and they stay. And most of it comes from actually not knowing their own worth.
Yep.
Like they don't actually know, or they're scared of what could be on the other side. Well, I don't want to leave that relationship. Can I support myself? Will I find anybody better? You know, all of these things that goes on, like, do I got myself? But if you have enough internal confidence and self-love, even more than the confidence, it's the self-love, that when I look myself in the mirror every single morning, I'm like, damn, I love her. Like, I love her. And I'm so proud of you. I'm proud of you for honoring your boundaries. I'm proud of you for speaking your truth. I'm proud of you for not going to the things that you don't want to do just because you want to people please and people think that you should go. I don't want to go. And so it's taken so long to get to that place. My friends are like, you're the boundaries queen. And I'm like, I'm the tasteful boundaries queen. Like, I do it with love. I do it with love.
I love that.
Yeah.
And you brought up self-love. And I think that when people hear that, they think it's all about just accept yourself exactly the way that you are right now. And it's a very delicate love where self-love can be really painful. And it can be showing up and forcing yourself to show up for yourself when you really don't want to.
Yeah.
And pushing yourself.
Yeah.
And we know that because we've been in the personal development space, and because we understand that confidence has to start from within.
Right.
But getting people to take that leap and to actually dive into it. I actually launched a digital confidence course last year. And I thought for sure, I'm like, I have the secret sauce. I have the thing that can help you transform your entire life. The blockages that people have, it's too scary to see what's on the other side of that. So going back to how you saw what could be on the other side of that and then intentionally made that change, when you signed up for that mentorship, was it because you wanted to be a coach? If so, what kind of a coach? What was your vision then? And what has it developed into?
Yeah. My philosophy for life is fire, aim, ready. And so I tune into that feeling and I will just take action, and then I'll figure it out along the way. And that is a prime example. I heard, do you want to be a coach? I was like, damn, I can do that. I don't know what kind of coach I'm going to be. I don't know what I'm going to coach. Hockey? I don't know. What am I going to do?
Yeah.
And I joined and I started learning about the other types of coaches. And then I just built a good relationship with a couple of the mentors and with Rob. And he was able to kind of pull it out of me. And I was like, well, what have I done? Okay, I help people 5 steps behind me. Well, what have I done that can help the person 5 steps behind me? Because a true coach is a person who's done the thing. And now you're helping people that want to do the thing that you have done. That's mentorship. Right. And so I said, well, I've grown a 7-figure business. So let's do that. Let's start here. Let's figure out, well, how did I do that? What are the pillars that help me to do that? How can I put that in a program and structure it in a way that's going to help other people? So that was the coaching component of it, how I kind of navigated my way through. And he told me to work with only women in beauty salons right from the beginning. I said, nope, absolutely not. Absolutely not. I started with men and women. Now, predominantly, I do work with women. My mastermind is all women. But when it comes to voice, because I help a lot of people get comfortable on camera and how to use their voice, I'll work with men and women, right? All of it. And so if I had listened to some of those components that your mentor tells you, I knew intuitively what was right for me. And I believe everyone has this ability. We just turn it off. We turn it off and we don't listen to ourselves. And I have gotten so good at not going, well, what do you think? Do you think I should go on the date with him? Do you think I should start this business? Do you think that I should podcast? Do you think I should hire her? And I've gotten really good at going, I don't care what anybody else thinks. What does Cassandra think? Do I trust myself enough, given all that I know, to make this decision? It's me and God. That's it. He gives me the answers. Like, I don't need to ask everybody else for this. And so for me, self-love, the journey of self-love and getting to that place. Are we allowed to swear on this podcast?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
The journey to self-love was about looking at my bullshit and being willing to, like, this is the examples. I say, go inward and take out all of the parts of me that were ugly. Like the parts of me that I needed to take radical ownership over. Like, what was my part in that relationship? Why did he cheat on me? Like, it's not all on him. There's 2 people in that. So where was my part in that? right? Where was my part in the labor board claims that came against me when we left for this? Where's my part in this client filing a $2 million lawsuit against me? And I think she's wrong, but here I am faced with this lawsuit. Where's my part? And so I got really good at being like, where's my ownership? Where's my part? And how can I be better? How can I take more ownership over this? And when that started coming, there wasn't so much misalignment between what I was saying and what I was doing. And I was starting to act in what I call like a more godly fashion. I was starting to act more like how I really, truly wanted to act. I didn't have this misalignment between saying I get up at 6 a.m. and I work out every day, but not actually doing that. No, I actually fucking did that every day.
You practice what you preach.
Yeah. And so that confidence, you'll start to lose that and dim that if you're like, yo, you should do this and I can do all these things, but you're not doing them yourself. And so for me, it was taking ownership and being like, okay, I'm not feeling confident and comfortable in these areas of my life because I'm not doing these things yet. So like I need to start doing that and instilling the habits to start doing these things continuously, taking radical ownership of that. And then I don't like to use the word discipline. I'll use the word devotion, asking myself, what was I really devoted to, and showing up for the small things. The way you do one thing is the way you do everything. And so I would drop a piece of recycling not in the recycling bin and I'd be like, nope. The way you do one thing is the way you do everything. If I don't care about that not going in the recycling bin, what else do I not care about? What else am I letting slip? And I'd turn around and I'd go pick up the recycling and I'd put it in the recycling bin. Like all of these tiny, tiny, tiny little things. People are like, can you just make me confident? Can you just make me happy? Can you just make me successful? And I'm like, nah, girl, that's a lot of work. Like, and it starts with you, and you have to have the awareness of, oh shit, you know what? I actually just like told you a little bit of a lie. Could I just take that back? I'm not really sure why I just lied. I think it maybe was because of this, but here's the truth. Like being able to have that level of radical ownership over your actions and like, I want to be better. I'm sorry that I just said that, whatever it is.
Yeah.
So it's been a journey.
Wow. Radical ownership. I like that a lot, especially because you have to remove your ego from it completely. Because who wants to admit their faults, right? Like, especially with when you dive into like the social media aspect of business and how much of a highlight reel it is there too, that taking radical ownership and showing that you're not so perfect and it's not a highlight reel and it's not so pretty is really powerful to show, not just online, but also in person with people. And you've done a great job of that.
Thank you.
But you had mentioned that a healthy business starts with a healthy mind. How are you working with people on their mindset? Because you can give them everything. But if they're not the ones executing it and actually implementing those tools, they don't see that change. And then they blame you because they're not changing. Right. So how do you work with people around that block?
So I'm going to give you a small story to frame that because it'll give some context. When I first started coaching, I ran a container called the Business Savage Academy, and it was men and women. They could all come in, and I taught nothing but business strategy. I didn't feel confident enough in my ability to teach mindset. Although I knew that I thought differently than most people, I didn't know how to frame that or exercises or how to help somebody be more confident. I'm like, just be it. I didn't know how to actually help someone with that. So, 100 plus people went through that program. Long story short, it just didn't feel like something was missing. Something was really missing. And when I went through a lot of my own journey, I realized this like pull, and I hate using masculine and feminine, but it's the best way to describe it. Do you know much about masculine and feminine energy?
So I'd love for you to really dive into it.
So like I had this like masculine sense. So like basically the best way for me to describe this is the masculine is like your safety and it's your support. And it's that energy inside of you that's like, I have to be a provider. I need to have the ability to like have the bills paid, and I want to hustle and I want to grind, and it's the ego is in a little bit. It's not a bad thing. They both need to be in an equal, healthy, divine balance. The feminine, she wants to play all day. She wants to play. She's like, it doesn't matter. Don't worry about it. Everything's good. Like, and she's in a receiving mode. She's in her essence. She's in her being. Where was I going with that?
I love that, masculine and feminine, because I do feel like I've seen a lot in regards to relationships where it's like, he allows me to step into my feminine. And I can understand it around that point, but I also know so much of that masculine is necessary when it comes to business and getting shit done. Any woman who tells you that she's like, oh, just build in like this sense of like flow and like just be and the money will flow to you. Like bullshit. You were in your masculine in order to build the business and had the systems and had the structure and had the marketing and had the automations, or you were working 14 hours a day to get to the level. Well, now you can play. Now you can do all of these things. Like you don't just magically have money fall out from the sky and it's just like, just be in your essence and it'll just flow and attract to you. Well, maybe unless you have a sugar daddy and he's putting that money in your account. It doesn't happen like that. It's coming somewhere.
It doesn't happen like that. So the Business Savage Academy, felt really aligned, went on this journey of understanding this femininity, this like feminine essence that wanted to come out in me. And like, why do I have my walls up? Like, why am I walking into rooms like this? Like, why do I have my ego up? Why do I have this bulletproof vest on and nobody has a fucking gun? Why do I think everyone's out to get me? And it's like, Cassandra's so tough. She's the hockey player. Like, she doesn't need to show her softness. And everyone's like, Cassandra's really intimidating. And it's like, damn, she is, because she's 5'9" and she wears heels, and she's really, really scary because she's stuck in her masculine energy. No one wanted to approach me. That's your feminine. I wasn't able to receive. And there's a different energy in you looking at somebody and being like, hey, what's up? And like, hi, like, how are you? That's a feminine and masculine dynamic and energy. Oh, wow. And so I started this program. I said, you know what? I'm going to try this for shits and giggles. I'm going to try this. I'm going to do a 6-week mindset program, strictly female entrepreneurs, and we're going to go deep. And I'm going to take 6 female entrepreneurs, business owners, through a journey, and we're only going to talk about mindset. That's it. I'm not going to teach you anything about business, and watch what happens at the end of this. So I took 10 women. They committed to this 6-week program. It was feminine and masculine balancing of energy. It was a flow state and how to get ourselves into a flow state. It was understanding our relationship with money and our money story and how we were self-sabotaging. It was turning our fears into freedom, overcoming our fears, and how do we really turn that around. And after those 6 weeks, those 10 women were more successful in their businesses than anyone was from my business program. Anyone.
Wow.
And we didn't even talk about business. So I said, okay, for fun, let's do this again. Launched it again, 10 more seats, 10 more spots, raised the price, filled it up again, launched these other 10 women, same thing. Same thing happened. And so that's actually why my Savage Society membership was born, because that was last year that Evolve ended. And I was like, I'm onto something here. And these women were like, I don't want this level of work and this level of conversation to end. So can we still keep doing something here? And so Savage Society, the mastermind, was born, where it's female entrepreneurs. We do a business call every month. We do a mindset soul shop every single month. So now it's a combination of both, and guest speakers come in, and we do some spiritual work, breath work, and dropping in and all that kind of stuff. And I've really it's a balance between business, mindset, and spirituality. And the whole motto is unleashing the wild woman within you.
I love that.
Yeah.
You talk about spirituality, and I've noticed this with a lot of different coaches, where maybe it is because they're too much in their feminine, where it's more like the yogi, receiving, be open. And whenever they do talk about spirituality, they always refer to it as the universe.
Yeah.
But you've referred to God many times.
Yeah.
Is that different to you? What does your journey of spirituality look like? Does your faith step into that? How do you incorporate that into business?
This is a beautiful question and super timely too. Growing up, I went to church my whole life. I'm also a singer, so I grew up singing. I was in church choirs and singing and all these fun things. Somewhere fast track along the way, my dad's dad passed away, and my dad blamed God for taking his father. So he pulled us from the church. And so my mom was sneaking us to church because she still wanted us to go. And my dad was like, God doesn't exist. If he existed, he wouldn't have taken my dad, blah, blah, blah. So I fell out of my faith, but it was always there. It was always there, but I had kind of lost it. And then I was in that 10-year relationship, and he did not even believe that God was a thing at all. And so we couldn't have that conversation. And I just had this pulling. I've had this knowing, and I would pray, and he would make fun of me if I was praying, and all these things. So fast forward, starting to get into personal development, and everyone and their best friend is like, go do ayahuasca, connect with the universe, like all of this really deep spiritual talk, which I'm not knocking on it, because it helped me get back to my faith, right? Everyone has a different faith. I do find most people will talk about universe, but there is a difference between new age spirituality, which is like, light your Palo Santo and pull a tarot card, and like the tarot card is going to tell you what you should do with your life, and you should find your answers from tarot or from whatever other source. A lot of people are getting into witchcraft. One of my best friends is super into that. Mine is God. And it's actually my partner now, who, it was like this subtle knowing. He said that he just kind of started talking about it. And I was like, it was like a curiosity. I wasn't bashing it, but I was just kind of listening. And then he's like, I'm going to church. I'm like, that sounds like fun. Have fun. And then a couple months in, I was like, can I come with you? And then it was baptism day, and I'm sitting there, and I'm crying, and I'm crying, and I'm crying, and I look at him, and there's 5 minutes left, and hundreds of people had been dunked, and I look at him, and I'm like, do you think that they'll be able to still fit me in? He goes, yep, let's go. Grabs my hand, pulls me up. I got baptized, and that was only about a year ago. That I've re-baptized, because I was baptized when I was 7. It was a calling. And he was very firm on never dating a woman who didn't have the same faith. And I said, well, why did you even, he goes, I knew that it was in there. Like, God was telling me to pull you back to him. So mine is God. I have a very beautiful relationship with him. Any validation I need comes from him. I talk to him before I'll even look at my phone in the morning, and all day long, it's like he's my homie that he just walks around with me. That's my faith. And some other people will think that it's the universe or, all of these other things. And there's science. And of course, I believe in all of this stuff too. But at the end of the day, for me, that higher power is God. God is in all of us.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
Do you feel like your intuition is God?
Yes. Yes.
I agree with that completely.
Yeah.
I heard this Ed Milet quote that it was praying is us talking to God.
Yep.
And intuition is him talking back to us.
100%. And any doubt or fear or insecurity is the devil. I just got goosebumps.
I did too.
Yeah.
I've had goosebumps ever since you started talking about this. I'm like, okay, wow.
Yeah.
What church do you go to?
Red Rocks.
So right when you said that, it struck something in me because I had some church hurt from our previous church a couple years ago. And when we came out to Austin, we really wanted to dive back into a church, and a friend had invited us with her and her husband. And we were both kind of closed off to it. And it was baptism day. And that's the first time we came back. And it was the exact same thing. It was overwhelming. Doug ended up marrying us. Red Rocks has been home now and transformed our faith completely. So when you said that, I'm like, I wonder if she
I wonder
goes
if you
to
were
Red
there.
Rocks.
I wonder if you watched me get baptized.
I very well could have, because it was about a year ago. That
Wow.
That's crazy. Very
It's
full
beautiful.
circle.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
So when you're incorporating faith into these programs and you're talking to people, since everyone has such a different and unique faith, and spirituality means something differently to everybody, how do you approach those conversations when you know what is very true for you? How do you approach it without upsetting people that don't align in the same way?
Really beautiful question, because I feel like if you are going to join my program, this is how I talk, this is what I preach, this is how I live my life. You either like it or you don't like it. I'm not going to dim my faith. I'm not going to talk less about God or how he's moving in my life or the things that he's doing for me because you don't believe. So if you're going to pay me and you want to come into this program and you want to learn how I've built these businesses and how I've done these things, and you want me to be your mentor, it's because I'm a woman of God. And so that is a conversation that I have with people on a first call before I even bring them into a program, or any of my really high level clients. They come to me because of my faith. They're like, I want to build a more aligned business with God.
I love that.
Yeah.
That's really powerful. So when you're building out all of these different programs, I mean, obviously the business side of it, you've seen tremendous success from, and there's countless coaches, and there's a lot of coaches that can brag about results that they don't actually have. And like you said, you're living proof that this stuff is actually working. When you're building out these masterminds and when you're building out these different programs for people, is it because of whatever journey you're on and you're learning and developing, so you want to bring something new in? Because you said you're always 5 steps ahead. How are you always staying 5 steps ahead?
Exactly.
Like,
what
where
you just
are you
said.
being fostered?
Yeah. So I believe in mentorship. I will to the end of my time, that I will always find someone that inspires me, that I'm wanting to learn from. And this is one of the reasons why a lot of people have told me that they've chosen me or to stay in our containers, is because we can get to the end of a program, but they're like, but then there's just so much more that you now know. And then there's just so much more that you now know. I believe in never stopping learning, always. Whether it's a book, whether it's a mentor, whether it's a podcast, whether it's a networking event, you have a really cool conversation, it doesn't matter what it is. I am the curious one that's like, tell me more. How did you do that? What is that? What's going on over there? Like, I ask so many questions. I want to learn how it works. I want to get inside of it. I want to dissect it. I want to understand it. And when I align with somebody, I pay them, I get in their programs, I go to their retreats, I get surrounded by them so that I can learn what it is that they're doing. And I take bits of it that I like and that work for me, and then I teach it to the people in my containers and in my programs.
I love that.
Yeah.
Okay, you mentioned podcasts, books. How do you get your daily source of inspiration to be able to pour into other people? What is your favorite free outlets that people can start implementing?
Yeah, I read every single morning. So I start my day with prayer and having a conversation with God before I'll look at my phone, and then reading. So whatever it is, book. I used to be the one who would read 10 pages and then I was like, ooh, but someone suggested this book to me, and I'd read 10 pages, and then someone suggested this book and I'd read 10 pages, and I never actually finished a book. I bounce between a philosophy or a mindset book and a business book. So I like to read real strategy. I'm highlighting, it's color coordinating, I'm taking notes, I'm implementing, I'm making podcast episodes on it, I'm doing reel clips on it. I'm like, oh yeah, I know that thing. That was cool. Let me do something on that. And then mindset and philosophy, and it's the exact same thing, or it's the Bible. But I read every single day. I actually don't listen to podcasts as much anymore. And my justification, I feel like that I've come to learn, because a lot of people when they're on, so I drive back and forth between Canada and the States all the time. That's a 26-hour road trip.
Woo,
and I do it
girl.
alone all the time. And the last 2 times I've done it, I haven't even turned on the radio. No podcasts,
Wow.
no music, silence for 26 hours. It's me and God having a conversation. I know. And so
What a way to get centered.
right. So podcasts, if I'm getting ready and I feel like it, I'll put one on. It's always usually mindset. I don't listen to any business strategy anymore. It's always something that's going to light me up and cool conversations, inspiring conversations. But I don't listen to it when I drive or when I'm on long drives or anything like that anymore. I listen to a lot. I'm a sound healing practitioner, so I play sound bowls. So I listen to a lot of frequency more than anything. And books, like I get my sources from books, or I'll find a mentor and I'll go to their webinar, or I'll take one of their trainings or things like that. And then I dive into that. I have allocated time every day where I call it my to receive, because I need to be growing. Otherwise I get to this point where the knowledge that I have, it's, I can't help someone to the level where the knowledge that I have to keep growing so that I can continue to help them grow.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So it's my
now you brought up
time.
Frequency. This is something I know nothing about, but am so intrigued by, because I know every time I hear it, I'm like, okay, wow, that's really powerful.
Yeah.
I don't know what it's doing in your body.
Cool.
I don't know what it's tapping into.
Cool.
Explain it for dummies.
Yeah. Okay. So let me give you an example that will make sense. There was an experiment. I cannot remember the name of the doctor, but there was an experiment done. Essentially, he put water in glasses and he spoke. This sounds a little crazy, so bear with me. He spoke negatively to the water in a glass. He was like, "You're stupid. You're ugly. You'll never make it." Look this up. I'll try to find the name afterwards and I'll send it to you.
Okay.
An experiment. It's very famous. And then he froze those ice cubes. Okay. And then he did the exact same thing and he spoke positively to the water. Super kind things. You're beautiful. You're awesome. You're confident. You're going to make it. There's no such thing as fear, whatever. All of these positive things. The crystalline structure, it's wild. These were like deformed and like all like crazy things that came out of it. These ones were like beautiful snowflakes. Like the most and no difference other than the way that he spoke to them, which tells you something about frequency. We also know, we've all had that experience where you're vibing, you're feeling great, and you get around somebody else and then you leave their energy and you're like, why do I not feel good? The conversation was fine. They weren't mean to me. Everything was fine. I just feel kind of gross.
Yep.
It's energy, it's frequency. Same thing as if you're here and you meet with someone else and they're vibing behind, you're like, your energy is contagious. Like you're infectious, like you shine or you're glowing. That's frequency. And so all of that, it's literally frequency. Frequency can literally break cancer cells. If you can get the exact same frequency as something else, it will shatter it. Right? When you think of wine glasses and all of a sudden it shatters, it's frequency. And so what happens is basically someone like you or I, to toot our own horns, have done a ton of work on ourselves. We are vibing traditionally up here. I saw your story on the way over here. I've had a lousy 2 days too. So I get it. Sometimes we're in our own heads and we kind of get down to, but we still have this ability to be like, fuck this. I'm going to get myself back up to a higher frequency. And when you're having conversations like this that like feel fueling and they feel inspiring and they feel powerful, you're going to leave and you're going to feel more inspired and more powerful versus when it's gossip, when they're drinking, when it's low vibrational conversations, the frequency of everything is lower and it physically on a cellular aspect affects you.
Wow. That's the best description I've ever heard from it, because frequency and energy can kind of be used interchangeably.
Yeah.
Okay. See, I've always thought that I'm like, is it something in sounds? Is it something like...
It is.
I think way too much into
Everything's
it.
in vibration. You and I, this water bottle, everything is in vibration. Everything.
That's so wild.
I'll send you a couple books if you
Please
like to
do.
read, to geek out on it.
Please do.
The
I would
science
love
of
to geek
sound.
out on this stuff.
Yeah,
because you talked in the very beginning about 3D and like what we can see and stuff that you can't see. And obviously you tapped into that because you did a retreat, you said, and you experienced with plant medicine. Okay, tell me about this experience.
You want me to tell you about it?
I do, very much.
Cool. Yeah. So mine was psilocybin. To make a long story short, I didn't really know what I was getting myself into. My girlfriend signed us up. She does journeys. I thought that I was doing some mushrooms. I thought it would be fun. I'd never done drugs, like I said, so I didn't really know what I was doing. I knew it was a psychedelic. I had a rough idea of what it was going to do, but not fully at all. There's no way to explain that to somebody. And I said, how much are we doing? They said, don't worry about it. Ended up being 4 grams, which for anyone who's listening to this who knows anything about that, that's a lot. And it was an inward journey. So lying down on a bed with a mask on and tucked under the blankets, and you're not to see external world, you're to go inward. It's called an inward journey. And so basically it starts to kick in, and this takes you, what I like to call, out of my meat suit body and into the 5D dimensions. And so you see things from a completely different perspective. You have a completely different perspective on life. You will experience things that don't necessarily make sense. It's just a feeling and a knowing. And when you come to and realize, you journal through a lot of things that you felt or that you saw, or someone that was like an energy, and you know that now you need to cut that energy, or it's, in my opinion, it's God's way of talking to us. You want to talk to somebody who knows a lot about New Age spirituality versus God, they'll say that you're never supposed to do plant medicine because it opens up a portal to the devil to come in, and that you're never supposed to do those types of things. This is all new stuff that I've been really learning about the difference between New Age spirituality and Christianity. Mm-hmm. But I do not regret it for a second. It radically changed my life. I probably wouldn't do it again. Not called to ayahuasca, not called to any of these other things that people are doing. A lot of my girlfriends are doing Cambo all the time and all of these other things. And I think because I have such a strong relationship with God, I get my answers and I get my knowing from him. That one time opened up a portal enough that I feel like I can talk to him, that I don't feel like I need to do it ever again. But I also feel like I'm this soul that's walking around inside of this meat suit that I was gifted to walk in this life, chose my parents, chose this body, but my soul is old. My soul has traveled through a lot of other stuff. And you get a glimpse of that. I saw myself as like a warrior princess, and all of these people that had shunned me and they were trying to kill me and they took all my money. And then you sometimes can learn why you have fears that you don't know where they come from, because they're not even in this world. They've come from a different body that you had in a different life. That's a whole other conversation.
That's wild.
Many Lives, Many Masters is a phenomenal book to read that will really talk about this woman's experience. This gentleman tried to take her. He was a psychologist, and he put her through hypnotherapy and tried to heal her fear of water. And it was like, he could not understand it. Long story short, he ended up taking her back to past lives, and he found that she was drowned in a past life. And when he went back to that life, it's in this book, and was able to cure her in that life, now today in this body, in this life, she doesn't have the fear anymore. Many Lives, Many Masters. Yeah, I just geek out on weird stuff.
This is mind-blowing information to me.
Yeah, there we go.
Absolutely mind-blowing.
You're welcome, more than podcast listeners.
Yes. I am such a curious person that I'm like, I just want to soak in all the different thought processes around so many different things that I just don't understand.
Totally.
And knowing that you can have somebody that is like as successful, as poised, as put together as you, that's also experienced this stuff. It's not like a hippie in the forest. Is so cool.
Thank you.
Yeah. It really is amazing.
Balance.
It's balance. It's all about balance.
Yeah.
Now, I do quickly want to touch on your new relationship, because you talked about it being a conscious relationship.
Yes. Yeah.
Can you dive into what that means for you?
Ooh, yes. Yeah.
Tell me everything.
When I say conscious relationship, this is the first relationship. Okay, I'm going to put this in a couple of different contexts. The first is, I find it's the perfect balance between the masculine and the feminine, in the sense that in a true union of a relationship, in my opinion, the man should be able to hold space for the woman to no longer feel like, I need to provide, I need to make all the decisions, what time's dinner, I'm making the reservation, all of these types of things. And it shows up in so many small ways, so she can drop into her feminine essence. A woman will drop into her feminine, which is her nurturing, which a man's deepest desire is to be nurtured. She will be able to drop into that if she feels safety and supported. That's all a woman wants. That's all she truly needs. He's not going to cheat on me. He's not going to leave me. I feel safe. I have a roof over my head. Like, she needs to feel safety and security. This is the first man who held space for me as I went through a roller coaster of past relationships and past trauma and past bullshit coming out. And I would lash out for no reason. And he'd go, well, that was from a trauma, and I'm going to hold space for you while you deal with that. And here I am, and I'll be here when you deal with that and you come back.
Wow.
And I'm not leaving. And then here we go through another roller coaster, and my triggers are his triggers, and we're sitting here holding each other's hands, crying, having conversations that most people don't have in 50 years of marriage, because he cares enough to say, I'm not leaving. And we're going to have these difficult conversations, and you're an avoidant and I'm an anxious attachment. Other way around, I'm the avoidant. And so you want to not talk about it, and you grew up in a family where your dad took your mom's power, and so that's your deepest fear. And so if I say that you can't wear that dress because your tits are showing, you don't think it's just me looking out for you. You think it's me trying to take your power. Let's sit down and talk about this. A conscious relationship, it is the most beautiful thing, because our souls are so deeply connected. I truly believe there's been so many signs from God, and God brought us back together. But it's the communication. It's the level of communication of like, whatever it is that I need to express, he's not leaving, and he'll hold space for that.
Now, what's his journey to be that emotionally mature?
Yeah.
Because men, like, how do we help some of our fellas?
Yeah.
Or if girls need to, like, know that this exists out there.
Yeah.
Because I think it's so natural for somebody to see that and be like, ooh, that is a trauma, but, like, I didn't start that. I didn't know how to deal with it. So, like, I'm not going to help you through it. I'm out or never bring it up again.
Yeah.
Or something's wrong with you.
Right.
So don't show that.
Projection. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. Ooh, his journey's very similar to mine in terms of like the level of work. He came from a background of a lot of drugs and a lot of alcohol. God saved him from it. And so it was like a full surrender to him. He took a lot of time after being with a lot of people. He took a lot of time to be alone and really work on himself. And when he came to me, he was ready. I wasn't. He was ready. I wasn't. And so he was that rock that I needed because I'm like flighty and I wanted to leave and I've cheated in past relationships and like all of these things. And it took so long for me to just take radical ownership of like, I'm calling in this deep, passionate, emotionally intelligent, intimate relationship, but I'm not being that. I'm not showing up like that. How can I expect that from a partner if I'm not being that? I want someone who doesn't lie to me, but I'm lying. How can I expect that? And so he was the first person in my entire life who held space through all of it. All of it. Even the small little things. Did you eat this morning? I'm like, And he'd come over and he'd be like, can we sit down for a second? Did you eat this morning? Yeah. Baby, it's okay. Did you eat this morning? No. I know.
Wow.
Like just holding the most beautiful space for me.
Wow. It's out there.
Yeah.
It exists.
Yeah. And it's crazy because so many of my girlfriends are still single and looking, and it's like, just wait for what you know you deserve. But also you have to do the work too. You can't just expect for this Prince Charming to come along and sweep you off your feet, but you have no emotional intelligence yourself. Know what you want. But so many women are like, girl, you deserve better. Of course she deserves better, but she needs to rise to that bar too. We can't just be calling in this prince and she's not willing to do any of the work and to meet him. I was looking and it's funny because I was on a podcast, one of my own, a long time ago, and I was speaking with a girlfriend and I said, the next man, I'm saving myself right now, the next man I'm intimate with is going to be my husband. And then I met him. And then I met him. Like I knew what I wanted. I was specific about it. I wrote down the qualities that I wanted. But in that process, I had to slowly chip away at becoming it myself as well.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You attract what you yourself are. And if you want that emotional maturity, if you want that healed person, you got to start healing yourself.
Yeah.
And nobody else can do it for you.
And it's a ever growing journey. Like it's not like, oh, he's healed, he's done, that's it.
Totally.
No, it's that
constant.
we're very aware, and like he'll have a behavior and I know where it comes from, and so I know when to have grace, and like we know how to handle each other now, so it just makes for a very beautiful relationship. Hard. It was the hardest thing I've ever gone through to this point, but so worth it. So worth it.
That's beautiful.
Someone that's willing to have those difficult conversations, and no matter what it is or what it is that I'm going through, he will say to me every night, I love you. Doesn't matter how mad he is at me, I love you, and I'm not leaving.
That's huge.
Because a woman needs to know and feel safe.
Always. Wow. That's so beautiful. That's so powerful. And thank God you didn't settle prior, going back to the very beginning of our conversation in that relationship.
Yeah.
And now you can have such a beautiful relationship that people are going to look at and be like, I wish I had that. But it's because you did all the work on yourself.
Everyone can.
Exactly.
Anytime someone says that to me, I know you get this a lot too. I wish. You can. You can have all of it and more. We all can. There's nothing different between you and me or anybody else, but I just simply decided to do the work and feel the fear and do it anyways. That's it.
And do it every single day.
And that's why, I don't know if you get this, but in my journey, there's been seasons where I've had so much hate, like just people ripping on me. I had this one video that went viral and people were like, oh, she must only be successful because she's probably on OnlyFans. And at the time, I literally was like, what is OnlyFans? Like I had no idea what it was. And then I found out and I was like, oh, that sucks. Like that really sucks. Maybe I shouldn't dress so sexy. Maybe I should do this. And I was like, no, fuck that. I'm not going to change who I am because other people are projecting onto me their insecurities because they're in their mom's basement and they're lighting up the keyboard and lighting up the chat because they're too insecure to chase their dreams the way that I have. But guess what? If I stand in my power and if I stand in this light and if I shine brightly enough, they're going to realize that they can too. And eventually I've had a lot of haters that when I comment back or I'll DM them, they start following me and they're like, thank you. I needed that.
Wow. Oh my goodness.
So it's like this knowing, right? We stand in our knowing and people it's like they shoot at you, but you just know so strongly what you're doing is in alignment and you feel really good about it because I'm sure you've heard the analogy, for anyone who's worried about haters putting themselves out there, one of the things that I do when you're building confidence on camera, well, what if somebody says I'm ugly? What if somebody says my hair sucks? What if somebody says I sound stupid? What if somebody says my voice is annoying? We only get triggered and affected by things that we in some way, shape, or form believe. If you're walking down the street right now, just like you are, and someone says, nice pink hair, you're going to be like, okay, I don't have pink hair. Doesn't bother you at all, right? But if they say something that in any way, shape, or form you kind of sort of believe, you're upset. It triggers you. So that comes back to self-love. That comes back to the inner work. That comes back to what I say online is how I am, and I show up the way that I am, and I don't do things that I'm not, or say things that I'm not doing. And you live in alignment. And then when someone says something like, what's your OnlyFans account? And I'm like, man, you couldn't afford me even if I did have it. Like,
mic drop. I love that.
Right. So.
I keep hearing this phrase coming to me that it's hurt people, which we've all heard, but healed people heal people. And I think that's what you've been able to do. And that's also the message that you're spreading by when you do respond to those haters, or when you do show up and give them that grace because you're coming from a place of you're healed. It helps them start to begin the healing journey for themselves.
Yeah.
And I think it's really beautiful that your entire story and your journey has been such a testament to when you do the work, your life can transform and it can become something that you're really proud of.
Thank you.
Now, some way that I like to end every episode is I notice that for a lot of women, I don't think you'll struggle with this question, but for a lot of women, they struggle taking a moment to be proud of themselves for something. So in this last week, what is something personally or professionally that you're proud of yourself for?
So I'll just get like a slight bit vulnerable, not too much, but I feel like it'll help someone. I have gone through as an athlete, a very interesting journey with my body and my relationship to my body and food and working out and not eating and all of these types of things, been anorexic and had eating disorders and bad relationships with food. I'm really proud of myself this week for getting to the gym, but I'm proud of myself for putting food in my body. I know that might be kind of simple and like, not some huge business thing or any eureka moment, but like eating 3 proper meals of protein every day and nourishing my body and not looking at food and being like, this is going to make me fat, this is going to make me fat, this is going to make me fat, but this is going to make me healthy, putting that in my body. I'm proud of myself for that this week.
It's the simple things.
Yeah.
And also it's not so simple because it sounds like at one point that was really difficult for you. And knowing that that was even part of your journey just raises my respect level for you that much more, because overcoming something that personal with your own body and still learning how to love yourself is a hard thing to do and a powerful thing to do.
Yeah.
So I'm proud of you too. I have goosebumps again. Like they're just permanent throughout this entire episode. So pimp yourself out. If people want to work with you, if they want to see what you offer, if they just want to follow you on social media, where can everyone find you?
Yeah, so Instagram is going to be the best at the.business.savage, www.thebusinesssavage.com, and then our podcast, The Business Savage.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for taking this time. It was so fun. I could talk to you literally all day. I have no idea how long it's been. But for all of you listening, if you are not already following The More Than Show, please make sure you do so. And follow us on social media. Tell us what your favorite part of this episode was. There were so many amazing golden nuggets. And we will see you guys next week.
Yay. Thank you.
That was so easy.